The BP oil spill, 1 year later. Next week marks the first anniversary of an environmental catastrophe, the explosion at BP's Macondo oil well that killed 11 workers, sank the drilling rig, sent more than 4.9 million barrels of oil into the Gulf of Mexico, and threw thousands of people out of work. Yet the United States Congress is behaving as if nothing at all happened, as if there were no lessons to draw from the richly documented chain of errors and regulatory shortcomings that contributed to the blowout. Even worse, Congress is pushing in exactly the wrong direction. The House Natural Resources Committee passed 3 bills this week that would force the administration to accelerate the granting of drilling permits in the Gulf and open huge new offshore areas to oil and gas exploration. The compromise 2011 budget makes major cuts in clean energy programs designed to lessen this country's dependence on fossil fuels, if that makes any sense at all. What makes this particularly discouraging is that, Congress aside, there has been a surprising amount of progress, thanks largely to the hard work of thousands of people and the extraordinary resilience of nature. But without Congress's help, progress will slow and many crucial tasks will remain undone. Here is a 1-year report card. The Gulf, after prematurely claiming victory last year, the Obama administration has since done exhaustive sampling across the Gulf and concluded, along with many independent scientists, that the oil has now supposedly evaporated, been captured, or consumed by microbes. 1,000 miles of solid beaches have been reduced to less than 100. Gulf seafood is mostly safe to eat. Louisiana's wetlands, vital fish nurseries, are soiled, and the full extent of the damage to the Gulf's ecosystem and its species, especially to fish larvae and the tiny organisms vital to the food chain, may not be known for many years. More will be learned when the government issues its preliminary, legally mandated assessment next fall. So, until then, and for years after, the watchword is vigilance. The herring population in Prince William Sound did not crash until 3 years after the Exxon Valdez spill. Restoration. The Gulf had serious problems before the oil spill. Approximately 1/3 of Louisiana's marshes, wetlands, and barrier islands have disappeared over the last century, victims of industrial development and levee building along the Mississippi. The administration correctly saw the oil spill as a chance to help underwrite a huge restoration effort, drawing on the $5 billion to $20 billion in civil and criminal penalties BP is still likely to owe. To jumpstart the effort, the White House may ask BP to make an advance payment on these penalties, but none of that can happen without Congress. Under current law, the fines would flow mostly to a fund to clean up any future spills. Regulation. The spill exposed grievous flaws in federal oversight, including a destructively cozy relationship between the oil industry and its regulators in the Interior Department. The department has since been reorganized and tough new standards applied to all aspects of the drilling process. Industry and local politicians started pushing for new deepwater drilling permits the moment the drilling moratorium was lifted last fall. Interior has been right to move cautiously. It also has insisted that new operators fully prepare for worst-case scenarios and have access to new equipment capable of stopping a runaway well. Such equipment, known as a capping stack, is now available but has yet to be tested at great depths. Here again, Congress could, would, should be helpful. At a minimum, at the very least, it should codify Interior's regulatory changes so that future administrations do not rescind them. It could even go further by making the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration the agency responsible for the health of America's coastal waters, an equal partner in decisions about where oil companies can and cannot drill. environmental concerns must play a primary role. Industry. A presidential commission has concluded that the Macondo blowout reflected not just BP's carelessness and recklessness, but an industry-wide culture of complacency. Right after the spill, a half dozen of the biggest companies banded together to develop new systems to contain a blowout. But so far, the industry has turned a deaf ear to the Commission's modest but sensible suggestion that it establish an independent safety institute to audit industry operations, much as the nuclear industry did after the disaster at 3 Mile Island. BP will pay a high price for its negligence, but this is a rich and powerful industry long accustomed to getting its way. So, if Congress chooses to keep enabling the oil barons rather than demanding that they change their ways, the lessons of the Gulf disaster will be wasted, and America's waters will remain at risk. In other words, not much has really been learned, not yet at least. The second and third angels have sounded, and that's why the third and the fourth angels are now sounding. This too is another sign of the times, another physical manifestation of the book of Revelation. Again, Revelation chapter 8. And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. 2. And I saw the 7 angels which stood before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets. 3. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, but he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. 4. And the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before God out of the angel's hand. 5. And the angel took the censer, and filled it with fire of the altar, and cast it into the earth. And there were voices, and thunderings, and lightnings, and an earthquake. 6. And the 7 angels which had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. 7. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire, mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth, and the third part of the trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up. 8. And the second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain, burning with fire, was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became as blood. 9. And the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. 10. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of waters. 11. And the name of the star is called Wormwood, and the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many humans died of the waters, because they were made bitter. And also, Revelation chapter 16. And I heard a great voice out of the temple, saying to the 7 angels, Go your ways, and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth. 2. And the first went, and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the humans, which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image. 3. And the second angel poured out his vial upon the sea, and it became as the blood of a dead man, and every living soul died in the sea. 4. And the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and fountains of waters, and they became as blood. 5. And I heard the angel of the waters say, Thou art righteous, O Lord, which art, and was, and shall be, because thou hast judged thus. 6. For they have shed the blood of saints and prophets, and thou hast given them blood to drink, for they are worthy. 7. And I heard another out of the altar say, Even so, Lord, God Almighty, true and righteous are thy judgments. 8. And the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, And power was given unto him to scorch humans with fire. 9. And humans were scorched with great heat, and blasphemed the name of God, which has power over these plagues, and they repented not to give him glory. Yes, it's the end times, transition days, which is a continuing day-by-day process of extraordinary happenings, changes, and events, which are increasing in frequency, because it's about what kind of world are we leaving to the future generations. Everything is connected, and everything is numbered.